My relationship with Rick, a pseudonym to maintain anonymity, began in the hallways of our high school. We were young, idealistic, and optimistic about the future. Over the years, our bond deepened, and by the time we graduated, we were inseparable. What started as teenage romance evolved into a long-term partnership, and we decided to continue our journey together, moving in together, and eventually buying a home. Despite the length and depth of our relationship, I often felt like I was living with a roommate rather than a committed life partner. This feeling of being unfulfilled and undervalued became a persistent source of tension and doubt in our relationship. The decision to buy a house together seemed like a logical next step in our relationship. It was a significant investment and a symbol of our commitment. However, the way we handled our finances and the division of household responsibilities highlighted the disparity in our commitment levels. From the beginning, we maintained separate bank accounts. On the surface, this arrangement seemed practical, but it also created a sense of financial detachment between us. Rick insisted on paying the mortgage from his account, while I contributed to some utilities and groceries. This division of financial responsibilities felt less like a partnership and more like I was paying rent to live in his home. This arrangement not only contributed to my feelings of disconnection, but also fostered a sense of inequality in our relationship. Our home, which should have been a shared space, became a point of contention. Rick was adamant about keeping the home as it was when we moved in. Despite my suggestions for decorating and personalizing our space, he consistently dismissed my ideas. Every proposal I made, whether it was painting a room or buying new furniture, was met with resistance. Rick's reluctance to let me make any changes to our home left me feeling like a mere occupant rather than an integral part of our shared life. After 16 years together, Rick and I finally got engaged. However, the circumstances surrounding our engagement were far from ideal, and they left me questioning the sincerity of Rick's commitment. A few years ago, a close couple we knew got engaged. Their happiness highlighted the stagnation in my own relationship, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of envy. When Rick noticed my frustration, he eventually agreed to buy an engagement ring. However, he made it clear that this ring wasn't an official engagement. He told me I could wear it, but he would propose properly when he was ready. This approach felt like a temporary solution to placate me rather than a genuine step forward. In our relationship, months passed, and the topic of marriage became a recurring joke among Rick's friends. Their teasing only heightened the pressure for Rick to propose. Eventually, he proposed one evening at home in a manner that was far from the romantic gesture I had always dreamed of. Despite the lack of fanfare, I accepted his proposal, hoping that it would mark the beginning of a new, committed chapter in our lives. Rick insisted on a long engagement, at least a year, which seemed reasonable at first. However, as time went on, it became evident that Rick had little interest in the planning process. He was reluctant to set a wedding date and showed minimal enthusiasm for any aspect of the wedding preparations. His involvement was limited to critiquing my choices rather than contributing to the planning. This lack of engagement made me feel like I was handling everything on my own, which was both frustrating and disheartening. Rick and I had a semi-open relationship, which was his idea. This arrangement allowed us to explore relationships with other people as long as we were both present. Initially, this arrangement seemed to offer freedom and flexibility, but over time, I began to question whether it was a way for Rick to avoid deeper commitment while still keeping me in his life. The open relationship allowed us to see other people while maintaining our primary relationship. While this arrangement was supposed to provide us with freedom, it increasingly felt like a way for Rick to keep his options open. Without fully committing to me, I began to wonder if the open relationship was Rick's way of having the best of both worlds, maintaining his connection with me while also exploring other options. The situation reached a breaking point when I made a shocking discovery about Rick's actions after I moved out. After much consideration and emotional turmoil, I decided to hire a lawyer and move out of our shared home. My lawyer explained that since my name was on the title and mortgage, I had the right to either force Rick to buy me out or sell the house and split the profits. Given Rick's financial situation, it seemed likely that we would need to sell the house. I moved out just before Halloween, leaving behind some heavy furniture that I couldn't move on my own. When I returned to the house to retrieve my remaining belongings, I was shocked to find that Rick had changed the locks. After waiting for him to return home, he let me in to collect my things. What I saw inside was both shocking and heartbreaking. The house had been completely transformed. New furniture, art, and personal touches were everywhere. It was clear that Rick had been living with someone else for quite some time. The sight of photos of him with another woman throughout the house was a painful reminder of the betrayal and dishonesty in our relationship. After seeing the state of the house, Rick texted me, stating that instead of selling the house, he would buy me out. This offer seemed like a reaction to my discovery of his new life. His evasive and dismissive response only added to my sense of betrayal and hurt. It was clear that Rick and his new partner had invested significant effort into redecorating the house, and I felt a bitter satisfaction in making their lives more difficult. In the wake of these revelations, I made the decision to take control of my life and my future. Given the situation, I chose not to accept Rick's buyout offer. This decision led to Rick repeatedly calling me derogatory names and accusing me of trying to ruin his happiness. It was evident that his new partner and he were upset about the complications I was introducing. For years, Rick had been in control of our relationship and our home. Now, I was finally asserting myself and reclaiming my power. I signed a lease for a one-bedroom apartment and began preparing for this new chapter of my life. As I settled into my new place, I relished the freedom to decorate and make choices without needing anyone's approval. Although leaving behind a relationship that had been such a significant part of my life was challenging, I was determined to embrace my newfound independence and build a future on my own terms. As I reflected on the past 16 years, I grappled with a range of emotions. It was painful to realize that the person I had invested so much time and energy into had been living a double life. The realization that my life with Rick had been a lie was a harsh blow, but it also provided me with clarity about the need to move on and find happiness on my own. I had spent a significant portion of my life with someone who was unwilling to fully commit, and it was time for me to focus on my own needs and desires. As I move forward, I'm focusing on rebuilding my life and finding joy in my own pursuits. While the journey has been difficult, I'm committed to embracing the lessons learned and moving toward a future where I am valued and fulfilled. I am excited about the opportunities that lie ahead, and am determined to create a life that reflects my true self and aspirations. The end of my relationship with Rick marks a significant turning point in my life. Although the experience has been painful and challenging, it has also been a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. By taking control of my own life and asserting my needs and desires, I am paving the way for a future that aligns with my true self. The support and encouragement from friends and loved ones have been invaluable, and I am looking forward to a new chapter filled with hope, independence, and possibility. Starting over is never easy, but it is often necessary for personal growth and happiness. I am ready to embrace the future with optimism and strength, knowing that I have the power to shape my own destiny. My experience with Rick has taught me valuable lessons about self-worth, commitment, and the importance of valuing oneself. As I step into this new chapter of my life, I am filled with hope and excitement for what lies ahead. One of the most liberating aspects of moving forward has been reclaiming my identity. For so long, I felt like I was defined by my relationship with Rick. Now, I have the opportunity to rediscover who I am outside of that relationship. I am exploring new interests, pursuing personal goals, and embracing the freedom to make decisions that are right for me